Welcome to this brand new edition of Global Lens on News9 Live with me, Neha Khanna. As always, we have a packed show for you. Our top focus tonight is on the recently concluded Bangladesh elections. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has secured a fourth consecutive term in office, maintaining her title as the world's longest-serving female head of government. But persistent questions about the credibility of these elections and the widespread criticism of Sheikh Hasina have cast a long and dark shadow on her win. This was practically a one-party election, with the principal opposition party boycotting it. Many say Bangladesh now has a one-party rule. A scenario that raises huge concerns, not just about it not being a free and fair election, but also about the state of democracy itself in that country. Bangladesh, home to 170 million people, is the first country in South Asia to hold its elections in 2024. But the turnout was abysmally low, with only 40% of approximately 120 million eligible voters participating. Many young people said they had no motivation to vote in an election whose outcome was a foregone conclusion, with the ruling party's win a near certainty. Bangladesh has seen political unrest and widespread violence leading up to Sunday's general election. Polling booths were set ablaze on the eve of the vote, with 4 people, including 2 children, killed in a train fire. In fact, throughout 2023, there were multiple instances of political violence, rallies resulting in either riot-like situations or a brutal crackdown on opposition protests by the Sheikh Hasina government and the police. Thousands of opposition leaders and BNP party workers were either thrown into jail, placed under house arrest, or forced to go underground. The country has also been beset by huge economic challenges, requiring a nearly $5 billion bailout package from the International Monetary Fund last year. Sheikh Hasina has been in power since 2009. This win marks a 5th overall victory for her Awami League-led alliance. She said today, "Our country is a sovereign and independent country. Maybe we're small, but we have a big population. We've established people's democratic rights and also the right to a better life. That's our main aim. I want to make sure that democracy should continue in this country," adding that without democracy, you cannot make any development. Now, that is a claim many would question given the circumstances under which these elections have been held. The main opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party boycotted the elections after Hasina rejected repeated calls to resign and let a neutral caretaker government run the election. Human rights organizations have warned that Hasina and her government are headed towards a one-party system, as critics expressed concerns over increased reports of political violence and voter intimidation. Economic concerns also loom over the country. Last month, Bangladesh was told by the IMF to tighten its monetary policy and have greater exchange rate flexibility to help contain high inflation.
Well, you know, India is a great friend of Bangladesh. 1971, they supported us, and also 75, they gave shelter to us, me and my sister and myself, and also other family members. So India, we consider our next door neighbor, and we have many problems, but we solve it through bilaterally. So I really appreciate that with neighbor we have wonderful relationship. And as you know that I have a good relationship with every country. That is our motto, that friendship to all, malice towards none. So we are following that. And my next 5 years, I already told you that the economic progress, ensure people a better life. That is my main aim, and all the works we have started, I want to fulfill that so that my people get a prosperous life. That is my main aim. Already I have declared our election manifesto. So every time when we declare our election manifesto, every year when we prepare our budget, we follow our election manifesto. How much we promise to people and how much we could have done and how much we have to do. So, and that way every year when we prepare our budget, we always go through our election manifesto and we try to fulfill. Besides that, if any other issue comes, we always work to solve that and develop. So development of our people and country, that is my main aim. I try to work for my people, and yes, I can tell you one thing, that, you know, woman is a mother. Look after family, look after children, and brought up children. So with motherly affection, I look after my people. and I try to assist them, to help them. And that's why, well, I am in power, you know, the killer, they eliminated my entire family, even my younger brother who was only 10 years old. Perhaps they had in their mind that nobody from that family will come again in power. But yes, it is our people. Our people give me this opportunity. So now, time and again, people are voting for me, and I am here. And I told you that I survived several times.
Sheikh Hasina's election yesterday on Sunday was in fact an election between the Awami League versus the Awami League. So all the candidates, the independent candidates have been elected are all from the Awami League. So obviously you can understand that literally there is no even opposition in the parliament. So it will be the first challenge for Sheikh Hasina would be to in fact to create an opposition or to discover an opposition who is going to sit on the other side of in the parliament. That's the first issue. So the second is obviously the violence that has been heard since yesterday is all between Awami League and Awami League, because they in fact fought the election. Those who were aspired to get a nomination, they did not get a nomination. So they obviously stood as an independent candidate. But for me, I describe them as a rebel candidate. So most of the rebel candidates have won the election. So that is again a question that has been raised in the Awami League inner circle, that why have they been nominated in the Awami League ticket to contest when the people in that region has not accepted them.
All right. So what should we make of these elections and their outcome, and what does it really mean for the people of Bangladesh? Let's understand this with our guest. Joining me on the show tonight, Veena Sikri, former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh, Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed, Professor of International Relations at the University of Dhaka. We're also hoping to be joined in a moment by Dr. Abdul Moin Khan, former Minister for Information and Broadcasting in the government of Bangladesh. He's also a member of the principal opposition party, the BNP, which boycotted this election. All right, let me start with Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed. Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed, how do the people of Bangladesh feel about the circumstance?
I can't hear you.
All right, sir. We will try and fix that link. I'll see if
I can hear you.
You can. All right, sir. So in that case, I'll repeat my question. My question is simply this: what do the people of Bangladesh feel about the circumstances under which these elections have been held? Sheikh Hasina may have won a landslide victory and a fourth consecutive term in office, but you had a one-party election. There was practically nobody else in the fray. The principal opposition party, the BNP, boycotted this election. It's being said widely that this was anything but a free and fair election. It has lowered significantly the credibility of the electoral process in Bangladesh, and many are now saying that democracy itself is under threat, even as Sheikh Hasina in her victory speech talks about the importance of democracy, which sounds quite quite ironical given how these elections have been held. How do the people of Bangladesh feel?
Thank you very much. No, I will humbly I'll differ with the assessment that you have made. I think a couple of things. One is elections are held not between political parties. Elections are always held to get the mandate from the people. I think the people, they decide, the kind of person they would like to elect and they like to see. I think we make the mistake of seeing currently, I think this is more in contemporary times, we tend to see election more between political parties, but actually the matter is, particularly of democracy, is, as Lincoln would say, of the people, by the people, for the people. So what you do is every 4 or 5 years you go to the people and then get the mandate. Now here, and this is the second point, here the opposition parties, they boycotted. That's their politics or their strategy. But more importantly, I think they have failed to attract the millions of people to come to their side. You see, the point in Bangladesh, I have always maintained that we did not really have political stability over the years, even right after independence. But for the first time since 2009, we had regime stability. Now, the regime stability, we need to see whether it can contribute to political stability, but we never had in serious way, the political stability that one talks about. Now, there are other countries in the world which really also, do not have political stability, but they have regime stability. So I guess, the point is opposition not coming to the election does not in any way, I can argue, does not jeopardize the meaning of democracy because, as I said, it's always with the people and not with the political party. And the last point that I want to flag here is that our meaning of democracy needs to be revisited and needs to be seen properly. Way back in, I think, in 2006 and 7, we did a big survey throughout South Asia with CSDS of New Delhi. Professor Ashish Nandi was involved in that project. I was the team leader from Bangladesh. We surveyed 5 countries of South Asia, and we found that overwhelming people throughout South Asia said, when the question was asked, what is democracy? Overall, in a big margin, they said food, clothing, and shelter, the basic necessities. In Bangladesh, it was even higher than the South Asian average. So, the point here is, it is the people which decides the form of democracy. So if one party or if a major party doesn't come to election, it must have been their strategy, and we can talk about that, but I don't think it jeopardizes democracy.
I need to go across to my other guest, but with all due respect, Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed, democracy seems to have been redefined in very questionable terms. During this Bangladesh election, you say that this is not really a contest between political parties, it's about getting a mandate from the people. But sir, what other option did the people of Bangladesh have? I will cite an example. In the month of March this year, there is going to be another presidential election in Russia. We all know what the outcome of that election will be. Vladimir Putin is going to win yet another 6-year term, with practically nobody having the guts to challenge him in that election. I am sorry, that is not a model of democracy. That is not a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. It is referred to as an autocracy. Therefore, I am sorry, but questions will be asked about what kind of democracy Bangladesh is currently practicing under Sheikh Hasina. Ambassador Veena Sikri, your thoughts on the kind of election that Bangladesh has had. We've had political violence, we've had a brutal crackdown on the opposition, with many of them being thrown into jail, thousands being arrested or detained, many placed under house arrest, many forced to go into exile or underground. The opposition decided to boycott this election. This was a one-party election. Bangladesh now is practically heading for a one-party system. I am not sure what kind of democracy Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed is talking about, but the world at large will continue to raise questions and concerns about the lack of credibility of these elections. Does this augur well for Bangladesh?
Well, let me say quite frankly at the outset that I actually fully agree with my good friend, Professor Imtiaz Ahmed. I have known him for many years and we've had many discussions on this subject. I think the point to appreciate here is that the political parties in Bangladesh had the full opportunity to participate in the election. Nobody prevented them from participating in the election. In fact, the BNP chose not to participate by bringing up the issue of the caretaker government and insisting that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina should step down. But this issue of caretaker government was resolved years ago by the Supreme Court of Bangladesh, where they had said that a caretaker government system is not in keeping constitutionally with a parliamentary democracy. And of course, they had given the option that you could have 1 or 2 elections or more if you want for administrative purposes. But the then government chose to bring in a constitutional amendment under which the caretaker government system was abolished. So to bring up that issue years later and to make that as an excuse for their non-participation, in fact, that has been questioned by many people, even in India. So many have written about it, that the option to participate was fully there. Until the end, the Election Commission had kept open that option. The second major political party, the Jamaat-e-Islami, was debarred from participation by the Supreme Court of Bangladesh because of a long-standing dispute whether the constitution of the political party, Jamaat-e-Islami, was in consonance with the constitution of the country of Bangladesh. So this was a issue which the Supreme Court decided recently and decided that they could not participate. But the other parties, the Jatiyo Party and about 26 other parties, did participate. So I think that, to say that you can boycott by one major party or more can hold up the entire electoral process in a country. Now, is that democracy? That you create an issue, you force an issue on the people, and because of that, you want to postpone elections. I mean, something like that is happening now in Pakistan, maybe, but, that's another issue altogether. So I think that we have to accept that under the constitution, elections are to be held once every 5 years in that country. And these were the routine 5-year elections that were held. And I think as far as voter participation is concerned, it was, they're saying around
40%, down from 80% last time. And again,
No.
I'm sorry, but when we talk about how the opposition had the opportunity to participate, but they chose not to, let's not forget about the brutal government crackdown that we've seen on opposition and opposition protests. If you're talking about a democracy, well, then the opposition has the right to protest. But what have we seen? Apart from bloodshed and violence, we've seen thousands of BNP workers and leaders being thrown into jail or placed under house arrest or forced into exile or forced to go underground. I am not sure that is an ideal way of conducting a quote-unquote free and fair election. But Ambassador Veena Sikri, I need to take a quick break.
Point on that. May I say a point on
that? Yes.
I think that you have to see both sides of the picture. And I'm sure my good friend, Mr. Moin Khan, is also going to say a lot now. I have known him well as well. I think one side of the picture is that there was a rally, the political rally, the violence really started from October 28th when there was a big political rally. Now, it's both sides. The rally should have been peaceful, but it was not. There was violence, policemen died, trains have been burnt, innocent mothers and their children have died, buses have been burnt. Now, the point is, who are you blaming for this? Is it because arson has been a part of many political actions in Bangladesh, and it is the people who actually don't like this idea of arson and burning buses and burning
trains. I am certainly not recommending any kind of violence or arson. But what I'm saying is that when you're going to throw thousands of opposition party members into jail, well, then that is, those are not conducive grounds for a free and fair election.
Yeah, certainly that is for the judicial system to decide. But I'm trying to say that because of the arson and violence, a lot of people don't turn out to vote because they're scared that there will be further arson and violence.
No, but the voter turnout is a different matter altogether, which also should be a matter of concern. But I'm talking about how the opposition is expected to participate when there has been a brutal crackdown by the government. Okay, we will continue with this discussion. We'll also have Dr. Abdul Moin Khan with us on the show in just a moment. I need to slip into a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We have more on the other side.
Ram's Ayodhya rebuilt. Ram Lala's Pran Pratishtha. Countdown to January 22nd. Dateline Ayodhya. Catch the mega coverage only on News9 Live.
Welcome back. You're watching Global Lens on News9 Live with me, Neha Khanna. We're discussing the Bangladesh elections that have resulted in a landslide win and a fourth straight term in office for Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Though these elections have been held under very controversial circumstances, with the principal opposition party boycotting the election. Many have described it as practically a one-party election, with a very low voter turnout of just about 40%. Okay, let me go back to my Bangladeshi guest, Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed. Dr. Ahmed, please put this into perspective for our viewers. As Sheikh Hasina embarks on her fourth straight term in office, what are some of the biggest challenges that she faces? We know that the Bangladesh economy has been struggling. The country had to turn to the IMF for a bailout package of almost $5 billion just last year. The IMF has constantly been issuing reminders to the Bangladesh government that it needs to tighten, its fiscal policy so as to control inflation. But according to you, really, what are some of the biggest challenges that Sheikh Hasina faces in this fourth term?
Well, first I have to say that, with all my respect for you, that you need to check some of the facts and figures. The very way you have saying thousands of people have been put on jail, that's not true. Our jail system will not hold thousands of them. And, one can debate on some of the actions, and which probably you have rightly pointed out. But if I can only cite the number of deaths this time, it's absolutely, relatively speaking, has been much lower than all the caretaker government held elections. So we need to check the facts and figures. I'm not sure who is giving you all the information, but just to point out, even on the democracy, since you have questioned my understanding of democracy, if you take the United States, for example, it is said that it is a billionaires club now, because only you have to be a millionaire, but now it's a billionaires club. Now, if you can say that this United States is democracy, I'm sorry to say, probably we disagree on a very philosophical understanding of democracy. Now, coming to the challenges of this government, yes, there are challenges. There are X number of challenges. Even the word that you've used, that IMF have bailed out Bangladesh, that is not correct. I'm sorry. Yes, IMF has agreed to support Bangladesh's request, but there are X number of countries in the world who do the same thing. So it's not a bailout, as you have put it. When it comes to challenges like any other countries, which wants to develop, but keep in mind, a country that was once labeled as international basket case, and I'm sure as a citizen of India, you're familiar with what Bangladesh went through. It really faced a genocide in 1971. Look at the number of people that got killed. And then don't forget 1975, when Bangabandhu was killed with all his family members. So you can imagine the kind of state that we had. Now, from there to now, you have to read some of the right.
All right, we've lost the line there to Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed. But again, I'd like to say, with all due respect, Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed may be a proud Bangladeshi, but facts are facts. He is picking holes in every argument I'm making, but I'd like to remind him that I'm not the only one raising questions about the credibility of the elections in Bangladesh. The United States has done it, the Biden administration has done it, the European Union has done it, the United Nations has done it. So perhaps Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed can accuse me of getting my facts wrong, but then he'll also have to accuse the rest of the world for getting their facts wrong, if that's how he looks at it, because, to the world, it is very clear that the credibility of this election was definitely under a cloud. All right, Dr. Abdul Moin Khan. No, sir, but facts are facts. You can go on questioning me and my research as a journalist. But no, sir. You're asking me where I got my facts. My opinion is wrong. My facts are wrong. You will then, sir, please take your protest also to the United States. to the United Nations and the European Union,
Don't
all of
bring
whom have
United
raised
Please don't bring
questions.
United Nations
No,
here.
I'm sorry. I will. I'm a journalist. It is my, sir, you may be
can
a
bring,
proud
but please take
Bangladeshi.
your pack.
I'm sorry. You may be a proud Bangladeshi
Sorry.
who brooks no criticism of his country. You are telling
No,
me
not
this
at all.
joke of an election, this
I
sham
can-
of an
please-
election.
Please
No,
read
I'm sorry,
read-
sir.
please
I
read
am
my
sorry.
words and
You
then will
can
see
go on
how
disagreeing
critical
with
I am
me.
about Bangladesh.
You can,
I'm
you
sorry to
can.
say,
No, I'm sorry.
that's not
You
way
can
to
question
conduct-
my facts. You can
that's not a
question
way
my
to conduct an
research.
interview.
But
I'm
you
sorry.
will have to convince the United Nations as well that this was a free and fair election, sir. You can come and say on my show whatever you like, but please also convince the rest of the world that this was a free and fair and credible election, because the world
That's a
doesn't
sweeping
seem to think
statement.
so,
I'm
sir.
sorry.
And I'm sorry if
That's
you
a sweeping
disagree with me.
statement.
I cannot help it. I cannot help it. Facts are
That's a
facts.
sweeping
And I'm going to
statement.
call a spade a spade. I'm a journalist.
Sorry.
It is my job
That's
to
not the
call
right
a
way.
spade a spade. I'm sorry, I have to go across to Dr. Abdul Moin Khan. I'm not going to be cowed down by a guest on my show who does not agree with me because he does not brook criticism of Bangladesh. Dr. Abdul Moin Khan, your thoughts on all the questions that are being raised about the credibility of this election, the fact that this was a one-party election, that you have a one-party system in place in Bangladesh, which erodes the very foundations of democracy, which Sheikh Hasina seems to be talking about even today. And also, what are your thoughts on some of the biggest challenges that she faces? Of course, Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed has taken exception to my even referring to the IMF loan as a bailout package. He has a problem with everything I've said on this show because he doesn't seem to like be reminded of the reality. But that is the reality that Bangladesh faces today. So what, according to you, are some of the biggest challenges that Sheikh Hasina faces today?
Challenges are numerous. That's all I can say to start with. To set some facts and figures right, I thank you. You pointed out, since the day of the crackdown on the 28th of October 2023, it's about 2 months and a half until today, and 26,000 of the opposition party workers and leaders have been arrested on fictitious and concocted cases.
Thank you for putting that figure out there, 26,000. Because when I said thousands have been arrested or detained, Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed kept questioning me and said, you've got your facts wrong. So thank you for saying this on the show. Go ahead, sir.
No. Can I?
Yes, go ahead,
if you
sir.
allow me a few minutes to
Yes,
speak
of course.
out. Each of these 26,000 people are identified and named and recorded and placed in public. The order of 10,000. Now my question is, if 10,000 people had been arrested, even if I agree with the words of the law minister, which is on public record, do you not think arresting 10,000 people just before the election because they simply oppose the government? So this is one point about the record. On the side of the economy, as far as my humble knowledge goes, whenever IMF is called to provide foreign exchange, this is in fact bailing out. So there is no doubt about that. One can question how much bailing out had been necessary for that country. If any country, for that matter, will not resort to the IMF until and unless they're in a very bad shape economically. I will quote simply two more figures. I will not take much of your time.
Okay, we've lost the link there to Dr. Abdul Moin Khan, who is talking about how the Bangladesh economy is in bad shape, which is why it needed to resort to an IMF bailout package, and that thousands of BNP workers were indeed arrested on the eve of this election, which Sheikh Hasina would want to believe was a free and fair election. I need to take another quick break here on the show. This more on the other side. Stay with us.
Since the last 2 years, Khalistani terror groups are threatening Indian diplomats in Canada, US, UK and Australia. Investigations of these threats led us to the first ever abduction and killing of an Indian diplomat, Ravindra Matre, in UK's Birmingham in 1984. Our months-long investigation finally led us to the murderer of Ravindra Matre, who has been hiding in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir for the last 40 years. Watch our exclusive documentary, Murder of an Indian Diplomat, where we reveal the man who killed Ravindra Matre.
Stop searching, start streaming. Download the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus, ahead of the curve.
The scale of the attack was something that we were surprised at. David Hadley was a double agent. The Americans did not want him to be fully exposed, so all that he probably shared with the Americans was not shared with us in terms of intelligence. If we had that, I'm sure that we would have been able to deal with the situation far better.
This and more streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
Bangalore traffic is an example of something that has gone wrong with our system.
We have more than 50 flyovers in Bangalore city. If flyover is a solution to traffic problem, Bangalore should not have traffic problem.
According to TomTom Traffic Index 2022, Bangalore is ranked as the second worst city in the world when it comes to traffic.
The speed limit at the ORR is 80 kilometers per hour, but our vehicle has only moved 10 kilometers per hour.
What Bangalore needs is a surgery, but what we have been offered repeatedly are band-aids.
Only on the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus, ahead of the curve.
Welcome back. We're talking about the Bangladesh elections and Sheikh Hasina winning a fourth straight term as Prime Minister. Let me go back to Ambassador Veena Sikri at this point. Ambassador Sikri, what according to you are some of the biggest challenges that Sheikh Hasina faces in this particular term? Also, how should we look at these elections and Sheikh Hasina's fourth term in office through the prism of India-Bangladesh ties?
Thank you. I think as far as the challenges are concerned, certainly the economy would be one of them, because while Bangladesh economy under Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has grown remarkably, it has been growing at about 6% per year right till the pandemic started. And a growth of 6% per year has been remarkable enough to a decision by the UN world bodies that from 2026 onwards, Bangladesh will no longer be a least developed country, and it will go into the into the category of developing countries. So that is a great achievement from a country which in 1971 was really very disparagingly termed by Kissinger as a basket case. So the growth of the economy has been regular and steady, but the pandemic has created a huge problem of supply chains have been, have been disrupted, and the import bills have gone up very high. So because of that, the Bangladesh government decided to go to the IMF for budgetary support, and they have received it. So I think right now, after the elections, they should be looking at mending all the problems that had hit them because of the pandemic, and I'm sure they'll be able to go ahead. But we do know that the Bangladesh economy, the parameters, the socio-economic parameters of the Bangladesh economy, including for women's participation and so on, some of them are better even than India, So, but in other cases, it's not. They are not better, but it's a good achievement, I would say, definitely coming out of the category of least developed countries. But it needs constant nurturing. So this, I think, will be definitely one of them. I think the other aspects that they will be looking at certainly is in terms of connectivity, and here is where India-Bangladesh relations come into play. And I think that India-Bangladesh relations over the last 10 years have been very positive. Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina do share an excellent rapport and understanding among each other, and it was remarkable that in 1921, on the 50th anniversary of the Liberation War, Prime Minister Modi was the chief guest in Dhaka with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to observe not only the golden jubilee of the Liberation War, it was the birth centenary of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and it was the golden jubilee of India-Bangladesh bilateral relations. Now, based on mutual respect, mutual trust, and mutual benefit, which is very important, I think our bilateral relations have developed amazingly in a large number of sectors. Connectivity is one of them. And, for example, if I can quote one small friendship bridge built over the Feni River in the state of Tripura, has now brought Chittagong port just 75 kilometers away from Tripura, and trucks can come, the goods can come to Chittagong port, can be loaded onto trucks, and in just 75 kilometers distance, they are already in Tripura, and they can go to any part of the northeast or to other areas for which they are destined. So, this has been a great development. Similarly, in the north of Bangladesh, friendship pipelines for petroleum products have been built between India and Bangladesh. So, petroleum products coming
right.
from Bangladesh don't have to travel all the way from the ports in the south of the country to the north, but they get it at very short distance from the Indian national pipelines.
Okay.
So, there have been these great progress and development, but certainly in this phase, we have solved problems like the maritime boundary has been solved between the two prime ministers. The land border agreement has been signed and implemented. So it's a question of greatly
okay. I'm running out of time, so I need to take closing comments from the other guests. Dr. Imtiaz Ahmad, how do you see India-Bangladesh ties shaping up under Sheikh Hasina in her new term?
No, I think as Veena was saying, it's going to develop further. Because the level of relationship has reached a stage where I don't think you can return to the old times. And that's precisely the reason I think there was disagreement between India and the United States on the issue of election and on the issue of whatever the United States was trying to say. But just to correct the point that Mr. Moin was saying, and I believe, you were also trying to talk about the IMF. On 28 occasions, United States borrowed foreign currencies from IMF. On 28 occasions, the largest number of, the United States did that. But that does not mean that the United States, IMF was bailing out the United States. So one has to be very careful how we use these terms, because it may give different understanding to the public.
All right, final word to you, Dr. Abdul Moin Khan. The BNP decided to boycott this election. What will the party's next move be?
I was just going to explain when I got disrupted, maybe. BNP did not boycott the election. BNP boycotted this election because this was a non-election. When no opposition takes part in an election, it is not the worry of the opposition, it is the worry of the government. Because if the government believes in some kind of a balance, a democratic balance, it is the responsibility lies on the government to convince the opposition to come into the election. In this case, the government has totally failed to do that. And that is precisely the reason the opposition has boycotted. And the opposition felt that the election commission, under the total control of the government, has no power and authority to conduct a free and fair election. That is the issue.
All
Coming
right.
back to...
Complete your point, sir, very quickly. Complete your point, sir. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm not sure if Dr. Khan can hear me, so we will leave it at that. Veena Sikri, Imtiaz Ahmed, Abdul Moin Khan, thanks very much for joining me on Global Lens tonight. All right, let's now move on to our next story, which is about the escalating India-Maldives tensions. Tensions between India and the Maldives are escalating following a series of controversial and highly objectionable social media posts by Maldivian ministers directed at Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as well as racist remarks about Indians in general. The remarks triggered a massive backlash in India and calls for action impacting not just bilateral ties but also Maldives' tourism industry. Tensions erupted after the Maldivian Deputy Minister, along with other cabinet members and government officials, made disparaging and unsavory references to Prime Minister Modi's recent visit to Lakshadweep Islands. On the 2nd of January, Prime Minister Modi visited the Union Territory of Lakshadweep and shared several pictures, including of his snorkeling experience. There has been an online discourse about whether the picturesque region could be the next Maldives. However, the discourse did go down well with certain Maldivian government officials and social media users who began throwing jibes at Prime Minister Modi and Indians in the most distasteful manner. In a series of posts, Prime Minister Modi had shared pictures of the pristine white beaches, clear blue skies and the ocean of Lakshadweep Islands, and posted a message that said, for those who wish to embrace the adventurer in them, Lakshadweep has to be on your list. After that, in a post that has now been deleted, the Maldivian Deputy Minister of Youth Empowerment, Mariam Sheon, made a mocking and disrespectful reference to the Prime Minister over his visit to the Indian island cluster. India summoned the Maldives envoy after 3 ministers of the island nation made derogatory remarks against him. Against the Prime Minister, I beg your pardon. The Maldivian government now finds itself in hot water and has decided to suspend the 3 ministers who made these remarks. The government of Maldives, in a statement, has said the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has issued a statement on the stand of the government in relation to some posts on social media that are insulting to neighbouring India. Those who made such posts on social media while in government positions have been suspended from their jobs. The government of Maldives is aware of the derogatory remarks on social media against foreign leaders and high-ranking individuals. These opinions are personal and do not represent the views of the government of the Maldives. The Maldivian government has also distanced itself from these remarks and said the opinions, as we said, were personal. The Maldives Foreign Affairs Minister Musa Zamir said the recent remarks against foreign leaders and our close neighbours are unacceptable and do not reflect the official position of the government of Maldives. We remain committed to fostering a positive and constructive dialogue with all our partners, especially our neighbours, based on mutual understanding and respect. The fallout led to a cascade of reactions, with former Maldivian leaders expressing dismay over these disparaging remarks, emphasising the need to maintain strong diplomatic ties with India. Former Maldives President Ibrahim Mohammed Soleh said India has always been a good friend to the Maldives and we must not allow such callous remarks to negatively impact the age-old friendship between our countries. The Indian High Commissioner in the Maldives strongly raised the issue of these remarks with the government of the Maldives. The controversy didn't just stay confined to political circles. Bollywood too jumped in with a host of celebrities voicing their support for Lakshadweep and urging fellow citizens to explore its beauty. Bollywood actor Akshay Kumar said, I came across comments from prominent public figures in the Maldives passing hateful and racist comments on Indians. Surprised that they are doing this to a country that sends them the maximum number of tourists. We're good to our neighbours, but why should we tolerate such unprovoked hate? I visited the Maldives many times and always praised it, but dignity first. Let us decide to explore India. I stand with India and want to support Indian tourism. Another popular actor, John Abraham, praised the hospitality and marine life in Lakshadweep and said, with the amazing Indian hospitality, the idea of Atithi Devo Bhava and a vast marine life to explore, Lakshadweep is the place to go to. Actress Shraddha Kapoor joined the chorus, expressing a desire to explore Lakshadweep's pristine beaches and coastlines. She said all these images and memes are making me super FOMO. Lakshadweep has such pristine beaches and coastlines, thriving local culture. I'm on the verge of booking an impulse holiday this year. Why not explore Indian islands? Ties between the two countries took a downturn after Mohammad Muizu, whose election pledge was to remove a small contingent of 75 Indian military personnel in the country and alter the Maldives' India First policy, took over as president of the Indian Ocean nation in November. As the diplomatic tensions escalate, both countries find themselves at a crucial juncture, balancing political discourse with the impact on the economies. The ramifications of these social media exchanges will continue to play out over the next few days, but the need for diplomatic finesse and responsible communication has never been more imperative. All right, let's now get you the latest on the Israel-Hamas war.
The following content may contain sensitive in nature. Viewer discretion is advised. This material is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all viewers. Please exercise caution while watching, and if you find such content distressing, we recommend discontinuing viewing. This disclaimer is provided to ensure awareness and to prioritize viewer well-being.
All right, let's now get you a complete lowdown on all the big developments in the Israel-Hamas war that's raging in Gaza. The ongoing conflict in Gaza continues to aggravate tensions in the region, prompting concern from international leaders about the potential ramifications. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has been on a regional tour attempting to de-escalate the situation. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has issued a stark warning during his regional tour, emphasizing the potential spread of the conflict in Gaza, highlighting the broader implications for Middle East security. Blinken's regional tour included discussions with the key Middle Eastern leaders aimed to find a diplomatic resolution in East tensions. Blinken said, "This is a moment of profound tension in the region. It's a conflict that could easily metastasize, causing even more insecurity and suffering." The conflict, initiated by an unprecedented attack from Hamas on Israel in October, has resulted in a devastating toll on both sides, he said. The conflict was ignited on the 7th of October when Hamas launched an unprecedented attack on Israel, killing 1,200 people. Alongside those tragic losses, Hamas militants also seized roughly 250 hostages. And many of them continue to be in captivity in Gaza. Blinken has warned that it's imperative that Israel put a premium on protecting civilians, ensuring operations are designed around protecting them and getting humanitarian assistance where people need it the most. Amid the deepening humanitarian crisis and mass displacement in Gaza, Antony Blinken has said the civilians must be able to return home as soon as conditions allow. As diplomatic efforts continue, the situation in Gaza remains precarious. Secretary Blinken's engagements and ongoing negotiations underscore the urgency to find a peaceful resolution to prevent further suffering and destabilization in the region. Meanwhile, the Israeli army on Saturday claimed it had completed the dismantling of Hamas's command structure in the northern Gaza Strip. IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari said, "We have completed the dismantling of the Hamas military framework in the northern Gaza Strip," adding that Palestinian members were now operating in the area only sporadically and without commanders. Hagari added, "Now the focus is on dismantling Hamas in the center of the Gaza Strip and in the south." Israel also claims it found evidence that Hamas received strategic weapon guidance from Iran.
This is a conflict that could easily metastasize.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is touring the Middle East amid heightened fears that Israel's offensive in Gaza will spark conflicts among the broader region. On Sunday, Blinken assured Arab leaders that Washington opposes the forcible displacement of Palestinians from Gaza and the occupied West Bank. The pledge came as Jordan's King Abdallah raised his country's concern during their meeting in Amman. The king warned Blinken that Washington has a major role to play in pressuring Israel into an immediate ceasefire, and warned of the catastrophic repercussions of Israel's continued military campaign in Gaza, a palace statement said. After speaking with Jordan officials, Blinken jetted to Qatar, where he said he had discussed efforts to free the more than 100 hostages still believed to be held by Hamas after an agreement mediated by Qatar broke down. Qatar's Prime Minister says the killing of a Hamas leader in Beirut by an Israeli drone strike has affected their ability to mediate between the Palestinian group and Israel. Meanwhile, in Gaza's Rafah, displaced Palestinians wait to see what Blinken's visit will achieve. We hope that Blinken looks at us with an eye of mercy, ends the war, ends the misery we are living in, this Palestinian woman says. Others at the Rafah camp aren't as hopeful.
This is a conspiratorial visit. This is an unfriendly visit. This visit comes to increase the war against us and displace us even more.
This is Blinken's fourth visit to the region since Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7th. The trip aims to gather Arab states' views on the future of Gaza before taking those positions to Israel.
We continue to raise with Israel the need to do everything possible to facilitate the provision of humanitarian aid to Gaza, and I will do so again when I'm there later this week.
Washington wants Israel's Arab neighbors to play a role in reconstruction, governance, and security in Gaza, an expectation that Israel's assault, which Palestinian officials say has killed over 22,000 Palestinians by Saturday, will eliminate Hamas.
And staying with news from Gaza, this is a heart-wrenching story of an Al Jazeera journalist who has lost so many members of his family. A heart-wrenching story from Gaza. Tragedy struck the family of a prominent journalist amidst the ongoing conflict in the Gaza Strip. Al Jazeera's Gaza bureau chief, Wael Dahadou, bid farewell to his eldest son, Hamza, who lost his life in a targeted Israeli strike. Wael Dahadou is mourning the loss of his son, Hamza, who, like his father, was a journalist. Hamza and another journalist, Mustafa Turia, were killed in the latest Israeli strike in an area that was actually considered to be relatively safe. Dahadou has told Al Jazeera that Hamza was everything for me, the eldest boy. He was the soul of the family. Remember, this journalist became the face or symbol for journalists reporting from the conflict zone. Earlier in the month of October, he was reporting on a strike when he realized that scores of his own family members, including wife and children, had just died in that very strike.
In Gaza, Al Jazeera journalist Wael Al-Dahadou is saying goodbye to another family member. His son, Hamza Al-Dahadou, was killed in an Israeli airstrike on a car near Rafah, alongside Mustafa Turaya, according to health officials and the Journalists' Union in Gaza. Both Palestinians were freelance journalists. A third freelancer, Hazem Rajab, was wounded. Al-Dahadou had worked for Al Jazeera, where his father is the chief correspondent in Gaza. Wael Al-Dahadou became particularly well known to viewers across the Middle East after he learned during a live broadcast that his wife, another son, daughter and grandson had been killed in an Israeli airstrike.
How can someone receive the death of their oldest son and everything in my life after I lost some of my family members? My wife, son Mahmoud, and Sham, and Adam. How can I receive this?
The Israel Defense Forces did not immediately respond to a request for comment. It has been bombarding the Palestinian enclave since an October 7th cross-border rampage by Hamas, in which Israeli officials say 1,200 were killed. On Sunday, Gaza's health ministry said Israel's offensive has killed 22,835 Palestinians so far.
The world must see with their eyes and not with Israel's eyes. It must listen and watch all that is happening to the Palestinian people. What has Hamza done to them, and what has my family done to them? What have civilians in the Gaza Strip done to them? They have not done anything.
The conflict has been deadly for journalists. The Committee to Protect Journalists, an international watchdog, said that as of Saturday, 77 journalists and media workers had been killed. comprising 70 Palestinians, 4 Israelis, and 3 Lebanese.
All right, let's now get your complete lowdown on the Golden Globe Awards that were given out last night. The 81st Golden Globe Awards were held last night, marking the commencement of this year's award season in Hollywood. In a dazzling ceremony, the stars shone bright as accolades were bestowed on some of the year's most exceptional cinematic and television performances. Oppenheimer emerged as a powerhouse, claiming 5 wins out of its 8 nominations, including the prestigious Best Motion Picture. Christopher Nolan's directorial prowess was acknowledged with the Best Director award, while stellar performances by Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. clinched Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor respectively. Poor Things surprised many, clinching the Best Motion Picture title, with Emma Stone's captivating performance earning her the Best Actress accolade in the same category. On the small screen, the juggernaut of Succession reigned supreme, securing multiple wins including Best Series and standout performances by Kieran Culkin, Sarah Snook and Matthew McFadden, earning them well-deserved recognition. The Bear and Beef also claimed their places in the winner's circle with standout performances by Ali Wong and Steven Yeun in Beef. The two actors made history, becoming the first Asian actors to win in this category. Jeremy Allen White and Ayo Edebiri in The Bear showcased the breadth of talent in television. The Golden Globes, under new ownership, unveiled 2 new categories this year: cinematic and box office achievement, recognizing the global impact of films like Barbie, and individual brilliance in stand-up comedy, honored this year with Ricky Gervais' standout performance.
The Golden Globes kicked off this year's Hollywood award season in style on Sunday, and also marked entertainment's biggest party since the 6 months of strikes by actors and writers that shut down the industry for much of last year. Oppenheimer won big for film, taking home the top prize for drama and 4 others, including the coveted Best Drama Actor prize for Cillian Murphy, and another for Best Director, Christopher Nolan's first at the Globes.
I can only accept this on behalf of people. As directors, we bring people together and we try and get them to give of their best.
Poor Things! Meanwhile, Poor Things, starring Emma Stone, beat out smash hit Barbie for Best Movie Musical or Comedy. Stone was also named Best Actress in a musical or comedy for her portrayal of Bella Baxter, who embarks on a dramatic voyage of self-discovery and liberation. On the TV side, media dynasty drama Succession and dramedies The Bear and Beef fared especially well. Succession depicts the power struggle among members of the wealthy, backstabbing Roy family. For its 4th and final season, the HBO show broke the record for most Golden Globe TV Award nominations and took home the Best Drama win, as well as 3 for cast members. Jeremy Allen White received his 2nd Golden Globe for his role as head chef Carmy in The Bear.
I can't believe I'm in this room with all these people I've loved so much, admired so much for so long. It's unreal. I love this show.
Netflix comedy drama Beef won Best Television Limited Series, and leads Ali Wong and Steven Yeun brought home Best Female and Male Actor in that category. They were the first Globe wins for both actors, and a nod to an Asian-led series. Sunday was the first instance of the Globes under new organization, after an ethics and diversity scandal led the 2022 ceremony to be scrapped, and reforms were made to its voting structure. As part of the new effort, Sunday's winners were decided by a comparatively racially diverse block of roughly 300 entertainment journalists from 75 countries around the world.
And that's the wrap on the show. Thanks so much for watching. Do join us again at the same time tomorrow.
जानना है तो देखिए, समझना है तो सुनिए, सीखना है तो पूछिए, और कमाना है तो खरीदिए। जानकारी, सलाह और निवेश सब एक ही